Hello, I'm Kerry Bloedorn, the Director at Pioneer Park Historical Complex in Rhinelander and an Oneida County Fair Committee member. Welcome back for another episode of Oneida County History. This program is brought to you by the Oneida County Virtual Fair and sponsored by the Hodag store in Rhinelander. We're in a very special spot on the rooftop of the historic Oneida County Courthouse. We'll be taking a tour of the courthouse today to tell you a little more about it. Come on.
The Oneida County Courthouse is the most exemplary designed building in Oneida County. Its splendor, architecture, and beautifully lit stained glass dome make it one of the most recognizable and photographed buildings in northern Wisconsin. Its green lantern dome can be seen for miles around. Day or night, it acts as a directional beacon and landmark for the area. If we are to tell the story of Oneida County's courthouse, then we should start at the beginning of Oneida County's history. Under Chapter 411 of the Laws of 1885, Oneida County was formed from Lincoln County, of which it was previously a part of. Of course, in its inception, Lincoln County officials were not too pleased about the breaking up of their county and the forming of a new one, and it was with much debate in the state capitol and lots of money from landholders in the area such as timber and railroad interests that Oneida County would be birthed. The first rendition of Oneida County went clear to the state line of Michigan and included much of what is Oneida, Vilas, and parts of Iron counties today. It also included the current Vilas County seat of Eagle River. The fledgling community of Rhinelander, situated along the banks of the majestic Wisconsin and Pelican rivers, was chosen to be the Oneida County seat. It wasn't until 1905 that the current county lines would be established. Oneida County is said to have been named after the Oneida tribe from New York, who had been removed to the state of Wisconsin in the early 19th century. Ironically, the Brown family, who founded the city of Rhinelander, originally came from Oneida County, New York, and although it seems probable, no documentation affirming the connection between the two counties has been discovered to date. The first Oneida County officials were appointed by then Wisconsin Governor Jeremiah Rusk in 1886. Chris Eby, Treasurer, J.W. McCormick, Judge, F.W. McIntyre, Clerk of Courts, W.L. Beers, County Clerk, Archie Seavright, Sheriff, Ollie Olson, Register of Deeds, Jacob Jewell, Coroner. Oneida County started off on a progressive foot for the times by having Mrs. A. W. Shelton serving as county superintendent. Ollie Olson resigned his position as Register of Deeds after only a few days on the job, and it was given to the infamous Rhinelander resident Eugene Simeon Shepard. Many will recognize the name. The first official meeting of the Oneida County Board took place on January 3, 1887. The first county business was done in temporary quarters located in a building on the southwest corner of King and Stevens Street, adjacent to the current Rhinelander City Hall. Bonds were issued for the construction of a proper courthouse with costs not to exceed $7,500, approximately $200,000 today. The original Rhinelander City plat placed a courthouse site between Stevens and Brown Street, just northwest of the current courthouse location. But when the time came to construct it, a simple potato field at the terminus of Davenport Street was chosen. A design for a white-painted, two-story courthouse building with appropriate space and vaults for conducting county business was picked at a cost of $7,470. The constructed building would cost $7,700, coming in just over the contract price. Shortly after, A jail and sheriff's residence was built just east of the courthouse building, within the courthouse block. A single painting of this building is the only known image to exist. Interestingly, it is shown accompanied by Rhinelander City Hall, and not the courthouse. Artistic license, we suppose. The first courthouse, which stood on the site as the present one, would serve the county for more than 20 years.
The Oneida County Courthouse building that stands today is the second courthouse to grace the courthouse square here in Rhinelander, Wisconsin. Around 1905, the Oneida County Board of Supervisors held a competition for designing the new courthouse. That design was awarded to architect Chris H. Teagan. Mr. Teagan also designed the Manitowoc County Courthouse, which resembles our courthouse very closely.
The old courthouse was moved east across the street, near the present location of St. Mark's Church on Baird Ave, and can still be seen in a photo of the new courthouse. It became the County Normal School, or Teachers Training School, of which none other than Arthur Taylor acted as president from 1909 to 1912. The new courthouse was completed in 1911 and first occupied in August of that year. It was built at a cost of about $96,000, with $12,000 appropriated to furnish the grand and imposing building, about $2.5 million in today's terms. The architect of the new courthouse, Chris H. Teagan, was also the designer of the Manitowoc County Courthouse, and it has a striking resemblance to the one in Oneida County. Both were originally outfitted with impressive glass domes, although the Manitowoc Courthouse had clear glass. Both buildings had challenges in maintaining these wonderful design features. After a hailstorm in 1945, Manitowoc County chose to remodel their dome using stainless steel. After a proposal to demolish the Oneida County Courthouse dome in 1964 failed, Oneida County chose to restore its original glass dome and preserve this wonderful feature of the building. Situated at the terminus of Davenport Street, on what is referred to as the Courthouse Block, in this prominent place in the city of Rhinelander, the courthouse can be viewed from almost any angle in the city for quite a distance. The three-story limestone ashlar-built courthouse is an excellent and locally unequaled example of neoclassical revival architecture. It is 112 feet long, 96 feet wide, and 38 feet tall, excluding the dome. The orders of columns, pilasters, and piers surrounding the interior well change in classical sequence from floor to floor. Doric on the first, Ionic on the second, and Corinthian on the third. At the third floor, arches form the base of the large ornate glass skylight, surrounded by gorgeous mosaics of perched eagles on a field of stars and striped shields. The columns and pilaster capitals are painted in attractive stenciled gold leaf designs throughout the interior. A few blue stencils can be found below the capitals of the third floor. The third floor east stairwell contains two wonderful murals dated 1919 by artist F. Bernstein, one depicting lumbermen rolling logs across a log boomage toward a series of sawmills on the shoreline, much as it was in Rhinelander for many decades, and also how the Wisconsin River flowage at Rhinelander got its name, Boom Lake. The other shows a presumed Wisconsin River in a primitive state, and along its banks Native American people can be seen near teepees, although in this area, the native peoples lived in wigwams made of bent saplings covered in birch bark. We'll have to overlook the artistic license and focus on the beauty of the overall painting. Across the light well on the third floor is a marvelous painting of the legendary Black Hodag, with no artist or date noted, but appearing quite old. On the north wall of the third floor is a more recent painting of Franklin D. Roosevelt. The courthouse originally had 3 courtrooms, although because of decades of remodeling, only one of the original courtrooms is known. The large courtroom on the third floor had many of its artistic and architectural features covered up over time in an effort to make heating and lighting more efficient. But in the more recent past, great efforts were taken to expose the original judge's bench and other features of the courtroom so that it looks much as it did in its original form. A large architecturally simple addition, called the Annex, was added onto the courthouse in more recent times, and at first held the county sheriff's offices and county jail. The building is now occupied by a number of county services, as the sheriff's department and jail now have their own building on the east side of Rhinelander. The jail cells have since been converted to offices. This building is also where the county boardroom is. Due to its location, the courthouse annex serves its purpose of adding space to the courthouse, but fortunately does not detract from the courthouse's historic beauty. The original building has a crawl space underneath, but the new portion includes a full basement where records, infrastructure, and maintenance offices are kept. The Oneida County Courthouse was added to the National Registry of Historic Places in 1981. And that designation was a helpful catalyst to the restoration of its magnificent glass dome, with federal grants available for financial assistance. Many people don't realize the Oneida County Courthouse dome is actually two domes, an inner dome, which is extravagantly colored with intricate stained glass work, and an outer dome made of rectangular stained glass panels held together by a copper-clad support system. The inner dome is viewed from the cavernous interior rotunda, and rests 57 feet above the first floor, and 20 feet above the third floor. It is approximately 22 feet wide. The outer green lantern dome is 42 feet across and sits nearly 50 feet above the inner dome. The domes together are in fact taller than the courthouse building proper. The outer dome can be viewed for miles around and is especially beautiful when illuminated at night. Both domes are lit using a more recently installed state-of-the-art LED lighting systems. The colors of these LEDs can be programmed to any color and have been used to change the outer dome's appearance, as was recently done to honor frontline workers during the COVID pandemic. These domes are made up of approximately 7,000 individually stained glass pieces. Many people tend to think the dome is a Tiffany glass dome. The Tiffany Glass Company kept meticulous records of every glass piece they ever cut, and unfortunately no record of the Oneida County Courthouse dome is included in their extensive archive. At the time of its construction, there were only a few glass makers that specialized in the type of work that make up the courthouse dome, and so it is said to be a Tiffany-style glass dome. However, this does not detract from its beauty and grandeur. The dome is capped by a large copper cupola and spire. I mentioned earlier that the Manitowoc County Courthouse, designed by the same gentleman as the Oneida County Courthouse, appears very similar. But another courthouse in Grant County, in southwestern Wisconsin, although the building looks different and had a different architect, it includes a dome that is virtually identical to the Oneida County Courthouse dome. Information about the glass-making facilities these domes came from has been hidden in history thus far, although efforts are being made to discover the details. We were given rare access to film the hidden interiors of this local landmark, so that others may enjoy sights they may never get to visit themselves. Through a nondescript door in a back room on the third floor, you walk up a narrow and steep metal staircase to reach the attic of the courthouse. Much of the third floor infrastructure is hidden in this large room, filled with suspended catwalks, pipes, conduit, and ductwork. A short walk toward the center of the attic space, and you will find the room containing the top of the inner dome. Through a small doorway covered in flashing to accentuate the light, you will find the top of the inner dome and the LEDs that light it from above. Adjacent to this area is a wooden staircase that brings you to a large room which holds the outer dome. Above is a scaffold that was built during the last outer dome restoration in the 1980s. At that time, more than 2,400 glass panels were painstakingly lowered by rope and simple pulley and were carefully packed for transport. After decades of being subjected to northern Wisconsin weather, many of the glass panels were in need of restoration. They were sent to the Oakbrook and Esser studios in Oconomowoc for repair, and then safely returned and put back into place. Some of the glass pieces were unfortunately beyond repair, but a glass replication process was used to match newly created glass pieces to the original. The company sent several cases of extra glass pieces for future use as needed, and the courthouse buildings and ground staff are capable of doing such repairs. But thankfully, none have been needed since its last restoration. The original and newer glass pieces are relatively thin, but remarkably strong. Side by side, it's hard to tell the difference between the original and the new pieces. Such a good job was done in their production. From the floor of the large room below the dome to the outer dome's top is almost as high as the courthouse is from ground level to this space. An old wooden staircase, same as much of the original woodwork throughout the building, was most likely built with lumber sawn right here in Rhinelander. It goes up to the scaffolding surrounding the base of the new outer dome. This staircase is no longer in use as the original narrow catwalk surrounding the dome was removed when the much larger scaffolding was built during restoration. A ladder extends some 30 feet up to this additional floor at the base of the outer dome. Once climbed, the magnificence and sheer size of the greenish stained glass dome is absolutely awe-inspiring. The entire structure is supported by an elaborate system of metal supports that hold the stained glass in place. The floors are painted white to better reflect the light from the LED lights positioned around the dome. Another narrow ladder takes you the final way up to the top of the outer glass dome and the bottom of the parapet that graces the highest point of the courthouse. From this spot on a clear day, you can see up to 12 miles away. Many of the local landmarks are visible: Rhinelander City Hall, Cranberry Hill, Soraka Park and the old high school hill, the Hodag emblazoned on the water tower, and of course, the paper mill, among others. A look down Davenport Street between the copper columns that hold up the final roof to this magnificent structure is absolutely amazing. It is truly a rare opportunity and sight to behold. On the way back down, we stop at a small doorway in the large room below the outer dome. Upon exiting this small doorway is the main courthouse roof, completely covered in beautiful copper sheeting that has turned a gorgeous green with age. A stroll around the exterior of the molded copper dome base, we notice people have inscribed their names and dates upon the copper, some that go back to 1918. Who were these people that left a record of their visit? Past maintenance personnel, perhaps? Stowaways lucky enough to have slipped to the roof without permission? We may never know. Very little, but some of the copper sheeting that is protected by various eaves of the dome still show their wonderful copper color, and it's neat to imagine the dome in its earliest days still reflecting the sunlight before the green patina took hold. Around the grounds of the Oneida County Courthouse, you will find a number of memorials. A Veterans Memorial Wall in honor of those county residents that gave up their lives defending our country's ideals. A memorial to Oneida County's early pioneers is present, as well as small monuments to time capsules on the grounds. Oneida County had several firsts in the country and the state. Oneida County was the first county in the United States to implement comprehensive zoning ordinances. Its purpose was to promote community public health, well-being, and safety. These ordinances became a model for other counties across America, which are still in use today. Oneida County was also the first county in Wisconsin to implement use of a University of Wisconsin Extension agent. County agent E.L. Luther was hired in 1912 and traversed the dirt roads of Oneida County on a 2-cylinder Indian motorcycle to educate local farmers on best agricultural practices learned in the UW system. It was UW County agent Lee Sorden who was instrumental in founding the original Logging Museum in Rhinelander, which is still in operation 88 years later. The Oneida County Board has recognized the importance of funding the UW Extension program for over 100 years, and it is one of many examples of Oneida County's practice of progress and looking toward the future. The Oneida County Courthouse is truly a landmark of the area. It is listed in the top architectural buildings in the state by TripAdvisor. When you see this greenish-hued beacon of progress as you enter the county seat of Rhinelander, you can't help but appreciate the beauty of Oneida County and all it has to offer. Our county is lucky to have this monument and the hardworking men and women that make up its staff, working to serve the people of Oneida County. This program was brought to you by the Oneida County Virtual Fair. We hope you have a newfound appreciation for Oneida County, its history, and its amazing courthouse building. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time for some more Oneida County history. Special thanks to County Clerk Tracy Hartman and Oneida County Buildings and Grounds staff member Christian King for the rare access and great tour of the courthouse.